I know you're extremely busy. Well,
you can still play the intro song if you want.
Dude, let's do it then. Welcome to Radical Books and Politics.
I haven't.
Do you want to play it?
In a while.
Oh my gosh! So I have not thanked you properly, my love. But I love this song. It's called "Libera Radicalmente," and of course, now that I need to find it, I can't find it. But
you're good.
Oh, okay, here it is. So I play this song all the time, and also After Capitalism. But this is a song that he created specially for the channel. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. So amazing! Oh, welcome, viewer. Let's see whether it's probably Joshua or it's my husband. So this is just a beautiful song, and it's so appropriate. So again, welcome again to Radical Books and Politics. It is my pleasure and honor to have Adam Gottlieb of One Love, who has been nominated for Best Local Album. All of Us, I believe, is the name of the album. And it's
all of you.
Yes. All of you. I always get confused. All of you.
Oh, that's right. You said all of us, and that's correct.
It is such a huge honor, Adam. You have no idea. I love your music. So I just, well, for the viewers who don't know you, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm also looking for the Facebook thing right now, and
let me post it. It's in Penned in the City.
Penned in the City. I just got the notification. Awesome. Okay, let me mute that so that we don't get a crazy time warp. Okay, gotcha. I wanted to be able to see comments every now and then if that happens. But hey, everyone, and thank you so much for having me, Hetsu. I'm so excited.
It's also my birthday, and I'm having a shot for medicinal purposes.
Beautiful. I do hear a little echo. Is that coming from your?
I don't hear an echo, but sometimes it happens on the YouTube stream. I would just go with it.
Okay. Sorry. All right. Life is good. You asked me to introduce myself, and I'm getting distracted by the echo. But okay. To introduce myself, I don't know. I am a poet and a musician and a teaching artist and a revolutionary, which means to me just fighting for life, for freedom, and with the people. And most of my music and poetry is about that, and inspired by the work on the ground in Chicago. And we've been comrades for a while, and I really always appreciate talking politics with you. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to talk a little bit about the album and to hopefully encourage people to vote for it and to listen to it if you haven't heard it.
And buy it. It is only $9.99
from it, which will give us some more concrete stuff to talk about. But was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I mean, I just find it fascinating, Adam, because you used to be a slam poet, and I knew you were musical. But I don't know if you can maybe speak about that a little bit, maybe later in the interview, because a lot of my students know you from back then, even though it's been years, right? It's been like 10 years now or more.
Yeah. More. 2009 is when that film came out. It was actually shot in 2007 and 2008. So I was 17 and 18. I'm now 31. Right. Yeah.
No, I love that movie. And in fact, I got to tell you that whenever I was down or I needed inspiration, I would listen to Poet Breathe Now. It's just such a beautiful piece. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want to share a piece for our viewers, or maybe talk more about the album.
Sure. Yeah, and I could do a poem too if you want.
Oh my gosh, I would love it.
Let me start with a poem, and then I'll do a song. So this is a poem I wrote just recently. It's called "All True Roads Lead Here." To organize around your dream, to trust in some angelic scheme, to write and sing the songs you hear, all true roads lead here.
Nice.
The rat-infested tents and streets, the land where plundering repeats, the fight to make the river clear, All true roads lead here. The books that rip the lies to shreds, the networks of a million threads, the star that calls to persevere. All true roads lead here. The neighbor with no funds to eat, the empty houses down the street, the nerve to make your prayer sincere. All true roads lead here.
That's beautiful. I love
Thank
it. And it's so awesome that you still write poetry. Um, what would you say first to someone who is making that transition, or maybe, you know, because
you.
the music is so connected to poetry. But like, for example, Misael Juarez, who I just signed on through Body Blues Press, he's a rapper and a poet. And what I find is that a lot of times the distinction is really up to him, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. When we're talking about poetry, it's hard to define in a way that separates it from lyrics and songwriting and rap. In a sense, all of those are poetry, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in fact, in a sense, I would say that all language at its highest expression is poetry, because that definition of poetry is like maximum impact of language, you know. That's basically how I think about it, you know.
That is awesome. I love it. I've never heard that philosophy before, but it makes sense. That's wonderful. So you want to share a song with us? Is this
Sure,
an album or
absolutely.
yeah, I want to hear. Oh my gosh! And you're gonna do two instruments at once. What?
Yeah. Because I don't have the full band with me here in these strange COVID times. I'll try to give you a little one-man band flavor.
Nice.
So, you know, a lot of my work in Chicago over the last several years has focused on the homelessness struggle, where, of course, at the beginning of a polar vortex, it's, can I swear?
Of course. Fuck yeah. Dude, I do it all the time.
It's fucking cold outside. So it's a very scary and mean world that causes tens of thousands of people to be outside in weather like this, essentially so that other people, like the real estate developers, can make a profit, right? But it's also a really beautiful and inspiring world when we see hundreds and, in fact, thousands, I'm sure, in the broadest sense, of ordinary people coming together to solve these problems. And there's this citywide effort to basically make sure that everyone is safe and protected from exposure to cold right now. And, you know, me and Diana here have just been kind of swept up in it. And I've been working with the Chicago Union of the Homeless, of course, and we're involved in it. And this song is important to me in this moment for a lot of reasons. Partly because it was one of the first songs that I wrote kind of as we were beginning to do some of this work. It came out of the struggle in Uptown in 2016 and 2017, when the homeless community there at Wilson and Lawrence Viaducts under Lakeshore Drive really made a stand against the city, which was trying to kick them out of the viaducts so they could do construction and build bike lanes, really so that they could move these unseemly people out of the way, because the developers and the gentrifiers don't like it, right? And this is a cycle that we see over and over again, and everyone who's, you know, working on these kinds of issues is familiar with this pattern. Ultimately, they lost that battle, but not after a really heroic fight that I think changed the way that homeless struggle and organizing and solidarity is happening in Chicago. And ultimately, the Chicago Union of the Homeless did sort of grow out of a lot of those initial relationships, such as with Tom Gordon, who still lives there today. They're in the motel right now, thank God.
Can you say a little more about the motel? Because I find that so beautiful. If you're talking about people helping each other, and this is a concept that's spreading not just with the homeless, but with teachers, with parents, right? So I don't know if maybe after the song or before you can talk a little bit more about these efforts so people can get a sense of how people are helping each other because the government's failing them.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, I see that you just put a GoFundMe link up. Is that to our Chicago Union of the Homeless? Great.
Yes.
Can I ask you to also put another one up there? Because in fact, we're not managing much of the hotels. We have some emergency funds that we can use for like bottom line emergencies for winter survival, including hotels. But the person who's really taking the lead on the hotel effort right now is a woman named Angela Turner, who I just met last week and very quickly built a lot of trust with. She's an amazing woman, formerly homeless herself. She has a company, an LLC called Helper2You, and I think Venmo is the most common form of fast cash apps. She's also on Cash App and Zelle, PayPal, etc., and we can share those in the comments later. But for right now, if you could put her Venmo up there, that would be great. It's at Helper2You, to the number, you the letter. All caps, Helper2You.
I got it. Let me see if it's right.
And yeah, we're partnering with her, and I don't know much about the details of the motel in Uptown or who's sponsoring that, but she's personally taking the lead on this citywide effort, and she specifically has already gotten dozens of people into hotel rooms for a week or 10 days or more. Right. Because this polar vortex is going to last a while. But she's not the only one. I want to emphasize that. It's a whole...
No, I do know they have about 30 people in one hotel, and that's where we're sending food to. But just the hotel staff has also been very kind, which surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this... I'm sorry, I'll shut up, because I want to hear the song. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. You can finish what you're saying if you want.
Well, I just... The kindness of people and this generosity to support one another, that's what humanity is about. Right, not having people fucking dying on the streets. So when I hear people saying, "What can we do to help each other? How are we going to help each other?" Whether it's teachers that have been blocked from teaching and aren't getting a paycheck, whether it's the homeless that are on the street, these efforts to me are so damn inspiring. And it's not a solution, but the impulse to help one another, to cooperate, it's fucking legit, man. It is.
That's right. We're bringing people together who are all good people doing good work. And ultimately, why my focus is on the Chicago Union of the Homeless is because, I think for the movement to be sustained, we really have to focus on developing the leadership of the people who are on the front lines, and so that's what the Union of the Homeless is, trying to become and is becoming already. In 3 months, we've seen a lot of changes in, the encampments having more leadership, and getting involved in this whole housing movement in a, I think, more autonomous way, and we'll say more about that. But yeah, this song is called Under the Viaduct, and a woman named Carol, who people who were involved in that Uptown struggle a few years ago will know and remember, asked me to write a song. And so without that, I'm not sure I could have, because, it's not an easy song to write. It was in the middle of the Jewish high holidays. I know that you are a liberation theologist like myself. I would love to talk about that too. This song was inspired by the Psalms, a number of familiar lines from the Psalms. You might hear echoes of them, but it's a blues. It's called Under the Viaduct. Let me know if the sound needs adjustment. You can point up or down. All right. Under the viaduct, by the waters of Uptown, that's where we sat down and we remembered Zion. Under the viaduct, where we pitched our tents, and our tormentors said we had the right to die. Oh my Lord, how shall we sing your song in this foreign land? Well, I saw my neighbors there by the waters of Uptown. Intensity in their righteous eyes as they stared them cops down. I saw my neighbors there, yeah, all faiths and all skin tones, yeah. When the city kicked them out, they were singing, "This land belongs to you and me, oh, oh, how good and pleasant that would be, if only that would be." viaduct, I saw the revolution, men and women fighting for each other and the right to be human. Under the viaduct, yeah, where we laid our heads on concrete beds, restless nights laying awake, praying for the rain. Oh my Lord, please save us, don't delay, let us come home.
Oh, so beautiful. I love it. I love it. And God, whenever I go by the viaduct, I get so fucking outraged. And even my kids are like, "Why are people living there? Like, why don't they have a home?" Um, I mean, it shouldn't even be a question, right? So I was wondering though if you could speak more to why it's so important for the homeless union to be autonomous, because I think that's key. Because like
Yeah.
we were talking about this in another forum, and when people think of helping the homeless, they think about sending them to a shelter. But what they really should be thinking about is why they deserve a home. It shouldn't even be a question. So I don't know if you can speak to that, Adam.
Yeah, why does the homeless union need to be autonomous in the sense of independent, in the sense of not controlled by a nonprofit
Mhm.
or a government body or anything like that? I mean, another way of asking that question is why does the housing movement need leadership from the homeless? And I think the short answer is because that's who is actually in the lead. I mean, it's just all of us kind of need to admit and recognize that the people on the front lines of this fight are the people without housing. And so rather than, fall into the charity models, which play a important part in kind of the survival work. What we also need to stay focused on for those of us really trying to end homelessness is building the people power that is necessary for major change like that, systemic change like that. And where does that people power come from? It comes from people who have common struggles and common conditions uniting around those common struggles and common conditions. And the fact is, people who are living out in the cold have nothing to lose. They're dying on the streets. And so their voices are the ones that need to be centered and heard, because they're not going to compromise. They can't. And it's something that I struggle with, as a ally in the situation, as a person who is housed and resourced, and as part of this whole world of organizers and activists, and in the left, a lot of us who are out here are white folks who are trying to get involved in a way that's helpful and empowering. And these are complicated questions. I mean, I'm speaking from just the experience of the last year plus of working toward this goal, and now 3 months of having a homeless union. I don't even want to go too much into the details of like our own internal stuff, but it's a struggle to build something that has like that kind of leadership with democratic decision making, etc., when people are literally in survival mode. I mean, it is not easy, and it's natural for people with resources to fill in some of the gaps. But a lot of our struggle has been to slow down, to create time, to create space, to build relationships, to build trust, and to really make sure that our homeless leaders are actually running the meetings, setting the agendas, etc.
And a part of that is I think there's a couple of dynamics there, because I have the same issue in other organizations and movements that I'm in. And that's that we have to trust the people to come up with their own decisions. Yeah. And I think there's this common concept. Not I'm saying you, and I'm not even saying the left, but in general, people think homeless people aren't smart, which is fucking stupid. Right. The same thing, I made this statement like people who have never taught should not be making decisions for teachers. It's the same thing for the homeless. And
Absolutely.
I also think I love the model too because they manage the funding. You know what I mean? Instead of some asshole saying, "Oh well, we can only do 10 houses a day or whatever the shit," or dictating how things ought to be. We also you said a really fundamental key word that we have to trust ourselves too. Trust that they're gonna come up with their own solutions, and they may make mistakes, but I'd rather have them making the mistakes than somebody
Right.
ruining a movement. And it's hard, it's difficult. Plus, democracy takes time. And it's so counter to our culture. We don't collectivize enough.
Right.
And so they think democracy is one head leader telling them, no. Democracy should be everybody has an equal voice, a really equal voice, in the decision making process. So there's a lot, and I commend you, man, because I can only imagine how at the one hand how exciting it is, but how hard, and yeah, for sure. But there's a lot of like I feel like there's uneducating that needs to happen and re-educating so people get to that mode where one, they feel confident in who they are, the solutions they come up with, but this ability to actually participate in what is real democracy, not the shit out for years, So
Absolutely.
yeah, but it's tough, man. But I tell you what, I'm in awe at the work that you're doing in the Chicago Union of the Homeless and all these other organizations, that are being revolutionary. I mean, and you're right. There are no options. How much lower can they fucking get? Right? Yeah. What also pisses me off? Maybe we can speak to this. They came up with this plan. I feel like the ruling class in the city's at war with us, literally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Educators, homeless, workers, people, parents, when they came up with this plan for vaccination, nowhere in there did they consider the homeless. I don't think. They considered the teachers, if that, didn't even get their vaccines, cops, firefighters, whatever the hell it means to be a frontline worker. But I didn't see any provisions for the homeless.
Let's take a step even further back. Before we had the vaccinations, we had a shelter-in-place order. We had shelter-in-place orders all over the country. And I know that people have talked about this a lot and made this point a lot.
Please say it.
And I assume that everyone who's watching, this channel has already, heard and talked about this to a great extent. But we cannot forget this. In many places, they made laws that specifically made an exception that the shelter-in-place order does not apply to the homeless.
Fucking
Think about that. How fucked up is that?
That is fucked up. Oh my god. That is. Oh yeah.
Talk about a slow genocide. Yeah, I mean, you're right to use the word war, and I think we can use that word genocide as well.
Yes, you can. Criminal behavior too. It's murder.
Yeah.
I call it. I'm like, it is fucking murder when you literally don't give the vaccine to the homeless. When you leave them dying on the streets, genocide is better, man. Genocide. Not that it's well. Let me rephrase that. The term genocide is a better description of what's happening.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say it's slow. These motherfuckers don't give a damn about
it. It's not even that slow. You're right. I mean, there have already been a handful, 7 or 8 of people that I've heard just through word of mouth who have died this year in 2021 on the streets. Rest in peace.
And unnecessary. One thing that infuriates me is learning about how many empty units there are that are supposed to be for impoverished people, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't. Could you maybe explain that dynamic? Because I don't think people understand. They put so much faith in these organizations that are supposed to help the poor, and they suck.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a very complicated subject, but the simple truth that makes, I think, it easier to wrap our heads around what people mean when we say the homeless industrial complex or the nonprofit industrial complex. Is that
privatized?
Am I on topic? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, man, that shit. You know what? That shit was deep. I don't know why I was so surprised, because the ruling class will fucking privatize and profit off of every fucking thing they can.
Yeah, we call them homeless. Right. We call them poverty pimps, to be super blunt about it in the movement in general, and the left has used that term in general, and not just the left, but poor people, homeless people have, I think, come up with those terms. But what I wanted to say is the kernel of truth that helps me kind of understand all of the complex, realities, is that there are, institutions that are built that basically rely on there always being homeless people in order to run. And there are many good people in those institutions trying to help. But the system, which has to do with the whole way that capitalism works, and even nonprofit organizations have to basically act like for-profit organizations in order to even survive and compete for resources, etc. And so you have this bureaucracy that builds up, that money pours in by the millions for the homeless, and we see the same hundreds and thousands of people out on the streets every day. What is going on here? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Bullshit. You know what? I was going to say something because I hate it. Look, I'm a liberation theologist. I'm a devout Roman Catholic. I'm a Sunday school teacher. Like, I know I cuss a lot, but hey, I'm a woman of color. I'm legit. I fucking hate it when people say the poor will always be with us. I'm like, motherfucker, Jesus did not mean that. He was talking about other kinds of poverty. Like, just because that was said does not mean the poor must be among us when we have the abundance to take care of them, to house them, to feed them, for them to take care of themselves. But, oh my God, like the next time a priest says that shit, I swear I'm going to walk out of the church.
Thank you for that. I forget what the citation is there, but yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm both Jewish and Christian. I know it's confusing for a lot of people, but it's a longer story. But my mom was raised Catholic, my dad was raised Jewish. Integrating those two traditions has been an important part of my faith journey. And I think about that verse a lot too. I think it's in Matthew or whatever where Jesus says that. This is an important point too that me and Diana talk about a lot, as far as like self-care within the revolution too. What I think you're absolutely right, Hesu. What Jesus meant by that is not necessarily that there will always be a poor class of people.
That's right.
But that there will always be poor in the sense of vulnerable people. And he's speaking within a context of biblical tradition in which the widow, the orphan, the stranger, the mourner, people who are hungry, thirsty, naked, etc., are who he means by the poor. Like not necessarily a whole class of people, right? Yeah, right.
But the latter interpretation is what people want to hang on to, like, oh, like Jesus said, the poor will always be with us. So I've done my part by giving my $5 to the basket. No,
right.
This is a thing that I think people are waking up to spiritually, psychologically, like intellectually. That we have to envision a better world, and one of the things I'm so like inspired by. Nobody wants to go back to the normal. Fuck that. They want people to have enough to eat. They want people to have equitable schools. They want the homeless off the streets. All this idea of human beings being taken care of. And it doesn't have to be utopia. It doesn't have to be heaven. That's the other thing. It's like people think based on that, they get a pass. I've done my part. I'm done. I call on that. I do,
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, it's an issue I take to heart because I grew up on the border, and I saw the poorest of the poor living in cardboard boxes. And even as a kid, I always asked why.
Yeah.
Does it have to be the case?
Yeah.
And I remember my mom would even quote that scripture passage back at me, and it made no fucking sense at all. None.
Yeah.
And so it's deep. It's deep. That and again, I am a liberation theologist. I believe the gospels were intended for the poor to be liberated, not to be fucking shackled in poverty forever. And that's the reality, man.
Mm-hmm.
But, anyway, let's take it down to a positive level because I'm gonna start crying.
Can I say a little bit more about that song? Because liberation theology is right at the heart of that song, and
for sure.
And also, like the idea of centering the homeless voices, I wanted to be in that song. And so on the studio version, if people haven't heard it yet, one of the cool things about it is that more than any of the other songs on the record, and a number of the other songs do this too in some ways, but none more so than Under the Viaduct, I think. It was kind of like a musical journalistic project because I have, 3 different audio samples from spoken interviews from the day that the folks living under Lawrence and Wilson Viaduct stopped Lakeshore Drive for an hour fully, in protest. And oh my God, Abdul Jones, his voice is on there twice on the record, and it's just it gives me goosebumps still when I hear it. And it was just like magical the way that it lined up with the music.
Chilling. I love that too. He's so profound, and what he says is just the fucking truth.
Yeah.
Hey, so you raise an interesting point, and I know there are musicians that may watch this. You are also the first musician we've had in Radical Books and Politics. Thank you, guys.
Hey.
We got a shout out to somebody said to keep following your passion. Thank you, whoever you are. How do you balance? Because you just said that that song was more like journalistic, and I know this comes up with the poets and the writers, but how do you balance the political with your art? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
sure.
When I hear your music, it's like speaking to my soul. It's not proselytizing. So how do you manage that? Or,
sure. Thank you.
Up word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. And this relates to so much. That song also, and maybe 1 or 2 other songs that I'd love to share with you. I struggle with that all the time as a contradiction. It's a very real contradiction in my life, just because there's only 24 hours in a day, and we need to sleep for about 8 of them or whatever.
And get ready for the fight for the next day.
Yeah. No, but I've been working on integrating these, needs, because I do feel both the need to be, out there immersed in the people and the work of organizing with the people for liberation, for justice and freedom.
Love it.
And abundance for all. And I also feel the need to process all the shit in my head through poetry and music, and to share it with others, and to build up a practice around it. And I have a band, and I've invested a lot of time and resources in this. And, oftentimes I wonder, like, is this selfish, etc., and
same struggle, brother. Same struggle right here.
I think the quote from Jesus that you brought up actually has to do with this to some extent, because in that moment, if we'll remember, here we go to Sunday school. It is Sunday after all.
Hey, let's hear it, brother. Preach that shit. This is
so Judas sees Mary of Magdalene and Jesus, and she's anointing his head and feet with oil, and he says, "Why didn't you sell this oil for more money that we could have given to the poor? They're more important than you getting your head covered with oil right now." And I fucking resonate with that. I'm more often Judas in this story than Jesus, right?
And so is my husband.
What's up?
So is my husband.
But Jesus is making an important point there. And I also don't like the way that his words have been used a lot. I think they've been kind of misrepresented and interpreted a lot. And I don't speak, Aramaic, Greek, Latin, Hebrew, etc. Yeah. But, what he basically said was, the poor will always be with us, but I will not always be here. And right now, I'm accepting this gift, that she's giving me, and that point is really challenging. It's challenging for Judas, who I think is very much in the right also. Yeah. And it's challenging for me as a reader and as a believer, because, I have to admit that there are some things outside of my control, and that if I want to make my life the greatest offering, which is more than just the amount of silver that I could have gotten for this oil, I need to live my life in a way that I can enjoy the gifts of life as well, right? And so for me, art and music is part of how I balance that. I feel like I receive directly from the Spirit, the universe, God, whatever, when I'm giving myself time and space to, feel my feelings and create music, etc., or even just to walk through nature if I can. There's a little river walk right here, even though we're in the city, I go to a lot. And so, I can take time for myself that way. And then often what comes out is these songs. Maybe I'll sing you one.
Please do. I'm doing this, Adam. I'm loving this show. For you who are just joining, we're with Adam Gottlieb, who is discussing the homeless in Chicago and the vision for a better world. And what better way than to do it through song?
These songs that I've been writing have been somewhat in the union tradition because, I've been connecting with that, trying to build a union with my comrades in the Chicago Union of the Homeless.
Yeah.
And also like bringing in other influences. First of all, the Union of the Homeless is a kind of different kind of union than like trade unions, labor unions, etc. But it's kind of based on those models. And also, I like not just folk music, and a lot of the union stuff is like folk music, which I love, but also reggae and funk, blues, etc. So this is a little more funky, reggae, bluesy, and it's called We the People because the president, Bonnie, who of our interim executive board of the Chicago Union of the Homeless, she quotes that preamble of the Constitution a lot, and she's really made a lot of us think about how profound those words are. So this is kind of meant to be a song. If we take over an empty building, I imagine one day, I could be singing this song as kind of a blessing for taking back what's ours. And we are, making moves to do things like that as part of this whole movement around the country. People doing things like that. Sorry. There we go. Whoa! We the people say we are here to stay. We reclaim this space for the fan. We will make a stand and rightfully demand the right to be human in this land. Me and all my union fam, we've been having union dreams. Waking up with visions of the world I'm meant to be. Waking up with visions of these pretty city streets with no tents, canceled rents. Everybody's got a key. We're finally free. Whoa, yeah. I woke up in that bitter dawn of 2021. Mid the ruins, 2020 left for everyone. In the wake of all the pain and the hope that also comes with the morning glow. Here we go, another trip around the sun revolution. Whoa, yeah. We the people say we are here to stay. We reclaim this space for the fair. We will make a stand and rightfully demand the right to be human in this land. Whoa.
Damn, that was beautiful. I love your voice, Adam. I know I don't say it enough, but I'm going to ask you to play After Capitalism at some point and maybe have our viewers imagine what would their lives be like if everybody's needs were met, if they had the time to develop their interests and not have to work for the man. I love that song. But I was wondering, I always ask this question. We're about maybe just a few minutes out. It's 12:39. And thank you for watching on Radical Books and Politics. We've had people coming in and out. What advice would you give a new musician or a poet who's just starting out? Some words of encouragement for them, even to be able to do this important work that you're doing, which is really educating the masses, man. I love it. I dig it. It's wonderful. I think that's what it is. That's how I take it.
Man. That's a hard question. I mean, there's so many like things that I could
Maybe
say.
one kernel of truth that you wish you had known then that you know now.
Specifically in regards to like
Maybe your songwriting, since we focused on that.
yeah, and songwriting with a social message, yeah, and
Mhm.
conscience. Well, I guess the one thing is kind of along the lines of what we're doing now. I've always tried to do this, but maybe it would have helped if someone had told me like, um, don't worry about like your artistic goals so much as just like is your voice getting more free because of the way that you're living your life? If you're living your life in a way that it's easier for you to speak your truth and manifest who you are, and you're living in that
Truth.
that place of truth and integrity, and where you're on fire and like you feel alive, that's what you want, and you want to keep moving in that direction. And then yeah, you want to pick up the guitar every day if you can, but don't worry about what you're doing
every day, dude.
yeah. But don't worry about what you're doing during that time. Just pick it up and do something. Play a song. It doesn't have to be like a socially conscious song. It could be love songs or whatever. Just play whatever is on your mind, and eventually, like, covers, originals, it doesn't matter. Like, just do it every day while you're living your life of integrity, and the rest will follow.
I love it. I love it, Adam. And I gotta tell you on a personal note, I made a major life choice recently so that I could be that passionate person that I know I can be and not be fucking held back, dude. I think that is probably the best advice I've heard anybody give on radical books and politics. And I've heard a lot of advice. And this is good for writers, artists, cooks, people who want to sew, you name it. And I think being your most authentic, passionate self is what you put on this earth to do, man. I mean, I believe it. I believe it. I believe it at a fundamental spiritual God level. I love it. I think that's amazing advice. And I think you're speaking to me today too. I'm like, you made the right choice too. Good job.
Well, amen. Thank you, Hester. I see you too. Even what you're doing right now is part of that, creating space. I'm really grateful for this space right now, to be able to talk. This is part of what feeds my soul too. And you have a gift for, just talking in a way that keeps everything real and grounded. And so thank you.
I get dinged for it. I was telling you, I get dinged for it. And I fucking got fed up. And I'm like, you know what? You don't rule me. I'll be who I want to be, and I'll speak the truth. And that's the position. At my age, I'm like, in my 40s, it's my birthday weekend. What?
Hey, that's right. Happy birthday.
It's taken so long as a woman of color who comes from the, immigrant family. It's been a long journey for me to be self-secure within myself. And I hope that more people get secure within themselves to live that life that they're meant to live on this earth, not ruled by the ruling class or the corporations. What you were meant to be. And I feel like you're doing it, man. You're always such an inspiration. And I talked to my husband, man, Adam and Diana are living it, man. Diane's Adam's partner. They're living the life, But I appreciate it. So I was wondering, well, one, you can put your socials down there, but I put the link to people to vote. Vote if you haven't done so. Adam's for okay, I'm gonna ruin for all of you, right? Did I get the title? Yes. Is nominated by the Chicago Reader as the best local album. I wish I could vote early and often. I voted once. I've been pitching it. Please vote. It is such a beautiful album. Also recommend that you buy it. It's only $9.99. That's like a cup and a half of coffee at Starbucks. Do it, dude. But I was wondering if you could play After Capitalism and just imagine what that would be like. I love that song. I play it every morning. You don't know that, but I play it every morning before I pray. Even praying. Yeah, it's like my morning prayer. I love it.
Wow, good morning. That's like an upbeat ska morning song. I like it on the acoustic guitar too. It's not quite as hyper. But all right. Let's see. And let me throw in a little Bob Marley before I do it, because his birthday was yesterday, and I gotta give thanks and praise.
I know you gotta go somewhere, Carmen. We're at 12:44. Just so you keep mindful of your time too.
I'm fine. I'll do a little medley here.
Oh, love it. Love it.
And I remember when we used to sit in the government yard in Trenchtown, observing all of the hypocrites as they would mingle with the good people we met. Good friends we've had, oh, good friends we've lost along the way. Yeah. In this great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I say. After capitalism, I won't have to market my music. 1, 2, 3, or work any day job to do it, or worried about paying bills. After capitalism, your food won't come from California unless you live in California. Oh, and by the way, it will be free. Yeah. In fact, me personally, I probably won't grow my own food, real talk. Cause after we get rid of capitalism, I still have way too much to do. Yeah, we will be free, la 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 la. We will be free, yeah, 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 yeah. We will be free. Oh, 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 and everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Yes, everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright, and we will be free. La 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 la. We will be free. Yeah, 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 yeah. We will be free.
Oh, so beautiful. And that was like the best birthday gift ever. I'm like crying. That was awesome. So thank you. This is Adam Gottlieb of One Love. And please, please vote for his album. And shout out to your band who can't be with you. But thank you, Adam. I love you so much, and I hope you have an amazingly blessed day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you come again soon. I know you're super busy, and anything we can do to support, you know?
Absolutely. You can drop in if people want to listen to the album first, and you know, Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever. If you can't buy it, just listen to it on whatever, so that you know what you're voting for. If you want to vote for it, you can put the link in bit.ly/hear all of you. That's all lowercase. And that's just for Spotify. If you want all the other things, it's bit.ly/all of you album. Again, all lowercase. Sorry if that's confusing, but the main thing that we're asking people to do is to vote for us, because voting ends in less than 24 hours tomorrow.
Oh, wow. I'll be taking
so, you know, we're really proud of the album, and we would love to win. And we're just really happy to be you know, nominated. And it's all like by vote. So, you know, it was just people who voted for us, and that we were really surprised when we saw that we even made it into the top 5. But yeah,
I'm so proud of you. I hope you guys win it, and if anything, it's just awesome to get all this, like, buy the album.
Yeah.
All right, Conrad. Well, you have a blessed day. Thank you, million. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You for being in Radical Books and Politics. I hope you come soon. Come back soon.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Have a blessed day, Conrad.
Peace, Jesus.
Take care. Adios.